Continue to getting more reaction on the president's address earlier on, and to shed some light on the lifting of some of the restrictions from the economic point of view is Zimbali Mncube, who is a researcher at the Institute for Economic Justice. Zimbali, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the Globe. All right, Zimbali, please unmute your device. We are not able to hear you.
My apologies for that, this tech thing.
Yeah.
Good evening to you and your viewers. Thank you so much for having me.
Now, President Ramaphosa has announced economic interventions for business and grants. So where is the money going to come from?
First of all, it's very encouraging that the president has announced a reinstatement of the SRP grant. And they've now decided to include caregivers as we know, on the basis of their receiving of the child social grant. And it did say that the tax base has increased. The tax base has increased over the past few months, and so that is where the funding will come from that basis, from that point of view. However, we are still not sure as to where the money for the support to businesses, informal sectors in particular, will be, mobilized from in terms of supporting them to recover.
So who's been the hardest hit with regards to, the sectors that have been affected by the by the looting that we've seen in the past 2 weeks?
Yeah, so the looting has affected various sectors, but in particular, we've noted that malls and the retail sector, as well as wholesale trade, has been affected mostly. And the looting was very targeted and organized, and so the whole supply chain was affected from the side of the supply. As well as to the manufacturing chain of the economy. Sorry about that. I'm having challenges. Yeah, so those are the sectors that we've managed to see that they've been affected over the past few weeks in terms of the looting.
No doubt investor confidence has been severely affected and taken a huge knock, especially by the international investors, because when they see what's happening in South Africa, it'll no doubt repel investment. So now that President has announced a business survival mechanism for the small businesses and to help them get back on their feet, will this domestically, it'll play a role, but just internationally, how likely will this ease or rather appease the international investors?
No, it's very important to have a global outlook, as you've outlined. But I think it's equally important to, restore confidence in our society from a domestic level, in terms of how people view the government and how it can respond to the needs of the society. More especially in terms of socio-economic rights, which is why I put an emphasis on the reinstatement of the SRD grant. But there's also domestic investors that we also need to, inspire confidence in them investing back into the economy. So, as I've said, that the mechanisms of how the support will be extended are still to be spelled out by the different the economic cluster and the different ministers responsible for that. However, it's really important to extend these measures to businesses, in particular the informal sector and SMMEs, and hopefully this will inspire confidence not only globally but also domestically to investors.
And domestically speaking, will these measures be enough to cushion some of those who've been affected, the individuals, the small businesses, the small and the medium enterprises, against the impact of the looting and the vandalism that we've seen in the past few days?
The short answer really is not really. We welcome them. However, they are particularly targeted at the recent looting. We need something that is more sustained. And as we know, last year, the 500 billion relief package was announced. However, we found that only about 41% of this has been utilized. And so we still say that expanded relief measures need to be extended to businesses beyond what has happened in the past few weeks, but at a more sustained and strategic interventions. And in particular, we say that businesses that are in construction, businesses that are in manufacturing, and businesses that are in tourism need sector-specific relief measures. And so what the president has done is to look back on the immediate needs in the short term, which is commendable, but we still say that this is not enough. And the relief package that was announced last year needs to be released fully, And in particular, I can touch on the Presidential Employment Stimulus Fund, which was allocated 100 billion, right? But this is over the medium term, which is the next 3 years. And the budget for this year only allocated 12.6 billion towards job creation. And this is really not enough, given the scale at which we have lost jobs in the economy. I mean, this year in the first quarter, we know that 1.4 million jobs have been lost, compared to the same period last year. And so to support job creation, we really need to increase allocation towards the Presidential Employment Stimulus Fund, which has shown great potential, in the employment of short-term work for teaching assistants. So this money needs to be released. We know that 11 billion has been allocated already. It just needs a sign-off from Treasury. And so if this money is released, it will go a long way into also job creation. We need to have a coherent strategy, not only in support of business and households, but also in stimulating jobs in the economy.
President Cyril Ramaphosa has been a subject of vitriolic attacks with regards to how the Ramaphosa administration handled the 500 billion rand stimulus package that he announced last year when the country first slid into the lockdown level 5. So if you were to be given a chance to advise the president on how this particular relief package that he announced a short while ago should be used, what measures would you say he should put in place to ensure that these funds are put to good use?
No, thank you for that good question. As I've said earlier, we've done an assessment which has shown that from the package that was announced, only about 200 billion has been used, right? And so to really add more and utilize this fully, we need to look towards the long-term effects on households that this pandemic has had. And we need to implement a universal basic income grant, for one, and support households at a more sustained level. We need to ensure that the care economy, in particular the early childhood development centers, are given more support. We know that over 80,000 of these workers have not been given support. And when the economy reopens, many caregivers won't have the capacity to take care of their children. And so giving support to the ECD sector will be a much needed relief to that sector to reopen, but also it will be ensure that the government is supporting the care economy. Over and above this, there needs to be an acknowledgement that the informal sector has been one of the most impacted sectors, right? And so we propose that there needs to be a once-off cash grants to informal businesses, right? And so, as an example, we propose that once-off 1,000, between 1,005 and 5,000 for the informal sector businesses need to be implemented. So those are some of the issues that the president, we feel, hasn't touched on. And if he implements them, there would be much relief in the economy.
Zimbali Mncube, researcher at the Institute for Economic Justice, joining us via Zoom. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.